My name is Sohail Shakeri, and welcome to the Social Critic YouTube channel. I'm excited to get this YouTube channel off the ground with you all, and the first topic that I want to cover is the top 3 reasons to question the U.S. News media. And just a little about this channel and the topics that we'll be covering before we jump into the first subject matter. And the social critic idea is to take a step back and look at our society. I am from the United States. I was born and raised here, and I live in the Los Angeles area, and I come from an Iranian background, born in New Jersey, but culturally I've kind of had that bicultural experience. So growing up both as an Iranian and also as an American. And it really gave me a chance to look at things from 2 different perspectives, to be able to criticize and take a more broader look at things in the Iranian community, and also to do the same about the American community. And it's been a real blessing to be able to have 2 cultures who at the political level are so diametrically opposed to each other, and to be able to evaluate both and see what drives each of the respective cultures. And so my goal is to take the best of both worlds and to share some of those insights with you all. So with that, let's jump into topic number 1. So, top 3 reasons to question the U.S. news media. So the reason I felt this topic was important is because I've noticed that the media really influences a lot in our society. It influences our decision making about what products to buy. It influences our decision making about what we are worried about what our concerns are, about who we root for, who we root against. It influences our concerns around our children and who we want to vote for in elections, who we choose not to vote for, and just really has a big impact in shaping our value system. And I've noticed that even if we, for the most of us, even if we choose to oppose or disagree with different specific topics, that it still has a big impact in our overall perspectives and our values. So with that, the first reason to be critical of the news media is that there are 5 corporations, count them on one hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corporations that own over 90% of the broadcast media that we consume. So what that means is there are 5 companies who are in charge of what information we get exposed to on a daily basis. So whether that's in television, whether that's on the radio, whether that's in newspapers, whether it's in online magazines, whether that's in films that get produced that we are exposed to. So it has a wide-reaching impact on our lives. And so those things, they shape the information that we get exposed to, and subsequently the choices that we make and the things we feel passionate about. So if only 5 corporations control over 90% of what we are exposed to, that should make us want to take a step back and say, wait a minute, who are these 5 corporations? And why is that not something that I get exposed to in school or in college or university? And how come they don't bring this topic up themselves? So those 5 corporations are, number 1 is Viacom and CBS under the umbrella of the National Amusements. Okay, and so Viacom and CBS are actually discussing a merger, and so right now they're looking to merge, and so they're seen under one umbrella. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is Comcast. So they own, they are a major cable provider for cable television, and they also own NBC Universal. So NBC Universal then controls, obviously the channel NBC, MSNBC, and all its associated affiliates, of which there are many. Number 3 is Disney. Okay, so Disney owns, obviously, the Disney Channel, ABC News, ABC, ESPN. So all of these fall under Disney. So a lot of people don't know. People, when they think of Disney, they just think of Mickey Mouse, Goofy, and Disneyland, Disney World, and whatnot. But yeah, Disney's involved in media. So not just in the Disney Channel, but all those other channels that I mentioned as well. Number 4, AT&T. Okay, so Warner Media, Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T. And so AT&T, obviously, they're the biggest telecommunications cell phone provider in the U.S. As well. So, so they have a big hold over not just what we watch, but also, they subsequently, control our phone calling, our data, for a large segment of our population, and our network connectivity. Okay, so all of that falls under AT&T. And the last one is, so yeah, actually I think that's 5. So Comcast, Disney, Viacom, CBS, and AT&T. Okay, so Viacom and CBS looking to merge, so eventually it'll be 4 that control 90%. So, a lot of times we think we're getting news from different perspectives, when in reality it's the same or very similar perspective that we're getting, just from different presenters or different newscasters. All right, so the second reason to question the U.S. news media is that our news anchors, they make a lot of money, and their interests are often not the same as ours. Okay, so I think the median household income in the U.S. is around $65,000 for a household. These news anchors, they make upwards, the popular ones that are, well known and we see on the national news or even local news, especially the national ones, they make upwards of $4, $5, sometimes $12 million annually. So let me give you a few prominent examples. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper was born into the Vanderbilt family. They're a very wealthy family in the U.S., started Vanderbilt University, and then, he makes $12 million annually for CNN. And then he also has a salary from CBS. He works on 60 Minutes as well. You also, and so in addition to that, his net worth is around $110 million. So, a lot of that comes from the inheritance from his family. So that's important because it's important to keep in mind that, who we're getting our news from. So while he might be one of the most trusted names in news, we have to look and consider that, say, wait a minute, does Anderson Cooper live a lifestyle similar to mine? Does he know what is important to me? I know most people, we trust him for providing what we feel is most important, but is that always the case? Especially when, we're talking about someone who is probably, 200 to 300 times more wealthy, or maybe even 2,000 times more wealthy than the average American. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Another prominent example is Lester Holt, NBC. So he makes an annual salary of $4 million with NBC, and he's worth over $16 million himself. So another example is Tucker Carlson. So with Fox News, he makes over $4 million annually as well, and worth over $12 million. So that's another important reason to question the U.S. news media. Last reason is the advertising agencies, and knowing that the revenue for these news channels comes from their advertisers. Who advertises on news channels? So the top advertiser on news channels, industry-wise, is the pharmaceutical industry. So the companies that are making pills for depression, anxiety, all sorts of different pills that have a tremendous amount of side effects, some of which we've seen impacting us with the opioid crisis in recent memory. Vioxx is another example that has led to the deaths of over 100,000 Americans, while the company Merck knew about it. So these are the types of companies that are paying for advertising on these news channels. So we have to keep that in mind when we're consuming their news, because they're not going to say anything in the news that goes against the values of these advertisers. Okay. Another big advertiser is technology. So Google, Alphabet. Alphabet owns Google, so they're another big advertiser. With their phones and just with the search engine, and obviously there's channels on YouTube that's owned by Google and Alphabet as well. Just to keep in perspective the people who are paying the bills for these news agencies, and to keep that perspective in mind when we view and consume their news. So the point is to take the news with a grain of salt, keep a critical eye, and to keep in mind that they might not always have our best interest in mind. So with that, I hope you found this first video helpful and insightful. If you did, please like this video, please share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you much.